Hi. How's it going?
Good, yourself?
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of, May seventh, Parks, Trees, and Recreation Board. Do we have any citizens' comments?
Yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
and I'm gonna hold everybody to 3
Wait.
minutes.
Let's, follow the agenda for a second, because I'll get screwed up.
He is actually going down the agenda.
No, we haven't done roll call.
Yeah, we haven't. She gets
Sorry.
it, no, that's good, you get me on that every time,
Oh, that's right.
so, all right. First of all,
Okay,
we need,
roll call. Roger,
here,
Mary Dell,
Here.
Beth Graham here, Rod Portal,
Here.
Sarah Thorson.
Here, and I was early, y'all.
Oh, awesome. Put a star down, early, Ann Rude, and Luke Russell.
Here.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
okay.
I did, but
Also too now, we
I thought I
need,
got
do we have any citizens' comments? And I'm gonna hold you to 3 minutes, because it looks like we have a pretty lengthy meeting today. So I will have you on the timer,
Oh, good.
okay? As soon as I can find my timer.
You got 3 minutes.
Do we have any citizens' comments? Barb?
Yeah. So, Barb Beck, thanks for the chance to provide a brief update on our project. Red Lodge Court, we've been here talking to you before, it's one project now with 2 phases, and both phases are coming together under the Community Foundation for fundraising. So, and the land and the venues for both involve the city and the school district, but we're gonna raise all the money privately. And both of us are intending to carry on fundraising to pay for longer-term maintenance, so that it doesn't become a burden to the city, those courts and also the high school courts. So phase 1 is resurfacing the existing courts at Field School Park, keeping the same footprint, and creating 1 permanent tennis court, 1 in the center that'll be usable for pickleball and tennis, and creating pickleball courts then in the western, existing tennis courts. Improvements will accommodate the high school tennis team until phase 2 is completed. Public Works will excavate that sunken area in the western court to evaluate the subsurface and see what's going on. And the estimate is $50,000, trying to get it done this summer. Phase 2, construction of 4 new tennis courts. 1 will be convertible to pickleball at Coal Miners Park. In conversations, the city has agreed to the idea to lease the area located north and west of the high school to the high school for $1. School district will assume maintenance and provide the insurance. Courts will be open to the public. There'll be lots of recreation opportunities in this area, including disc golf, softball, soccer, tennis, and pickleball, maybe a sledding hill. Courts will be approximately $750,000 project, slated for completion in about 3 years. And I'm aware of a couple of concerns about our use of that area. And the first one, somebody from disc golf came to the first meeting when we came here, and they were concerned about being displaced there. So I'm not an expert on disc golf courses, because I'm so crappy with a Frisbee, but I should try it. But I understand there's 1 hole there, and talking to some of the school folks, we think that that hole can still be accommodated on that property if it just moves slightly. Don't know that for sure. But the other thing is, Messiah Lutheran Church talked to us about having tennis courts up there. That didn't really work out very well. They're very open and excited about maybe having a disc course up there on their property. This would be a new course. So Linda from the church said she would be reaching out to Tom Coley to explore that possibility. The other thing was trees have been planted on that property for Arbor Day. And in talking with an environmental engineer that said that those trees could likely be relocated. So thank you, and we'll come back probably next month, more information for you.
You still have 8 seconds if you want.
8 seconds?
Now you don't.
No, you don't. Over now. Thank you. Any comments from the board? There we go. Okay, any other comments from?
I have no
citizen
comment
comments?
at this time.
You have a
Reserve the
comment?
right to have a comment later, not tonight,
Yeah,
but later date.
okay. Later date, like not tonight, some other
Yeah.
future date. I think you always have that
You
right.
always have that, Ann.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
you can never speak again.
Timer.
Yeah. Any other comments from citizens on matters relating to our jurisdiction?
I will, I don't have really a prepared statement or comment.
That's right, you have 3 minutes.
State your name.
My name is Max Maynard.
Stand up. No.
I'm Ward 3, but I'm about to move into Ward 2, so, you know, let's not get too specific.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit down. But yes, I also, I mean, and I do love the idea of expanding the amount of uses we have at Coal Miners Park and just getting more sports involved, tennis, pickleball, not racquetball, wouldn't apply to those sports. But, it's not just a unitary disc golf concern that gets me with putting the courts there. It is also, that just happens to be a really nice green space, in our park. I consider it a great asset. It's one of the first things you see when you are driving or riding your bike or walking into the park area. So I do think there would be, a bit of a sacrifice in putting the courts specifically there. I don't know, I don't have all of the information, but we do have quite a large parcel of land on that massive gravel lot where we usually park cars or the city will store their, or kind of stage their infrastructure projects. And perhaps that could be considered because it would also still be close to the high school. The high school could still be its, steward, you know. So I think it would be nice to perhaps consider another spot. And again, it's not just because hole 9 will be sacrificed. I think there's a few reasons. And, yeah, and just, you know, it would be a shame to see the green space kind of occupied, there specifically. But that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
What if the courts are green?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Now you're talking.
Max, I couldn't help it.
Luke, did you have,
Yeah, I tend to agree. Not that I don't think your idea is great, but I just think it's worth looking at putting it in the parking lot. I go there a lot, and I've never seen that parking lot even close to half full. It's graded flatter too, I think, than the spot you're looking at, which take a lot of fill. To get that level for a tennis court, which has got to be super expensive. I'm not, like that, I play disc golf there a bunch, and that pole, like, I think it can get moved, and it wouldn't be too bad, but I agree, like, it's a nice corner. You know, as you roll up there and you kind of like look left, it's like, oh, this is a nice little spot, once those trees get bigger. But I don't know, I think it's worth at least just trying the numbers and see if we'd be okay with you putting it in the parking lot somewhere. A lot of real estate there.
Dave, maybe you want to talk
So
about
that'll be a
it?
citizen comment, not a board member comment.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
It's right,
mhm.
Okay.
oh, yeah, where it is, north and west.
Well,
On that end.
we have looked at that site, but I think we can continue to look
Yeah,
at it again.
yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from citizens? Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, we need, action for approval of the consent agenda. I would like to make a little bit of a change to the agenda, and, you know, I kind of hate to do this, but I would like to move number 3, the board priorities, to the end. We have a lot to get through, and, if we have to carry the priorities over to the next month's meeting, I think that would be all right.
So move 3 to 8,
But yeah,
okay,
moves 3 to 8.
all right.
Okay, do we have an approval on the consent agenda?
I moved to move 3 to 8.
To 8. Okay, very good. And to approve the agenda with that
Yes.
change. Okay. You have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have an introduction and welcome to new board member Luke Russell.
Hi.
Luke, you want to tell us a little bit about you and why
Yeah.
you're interested in serving on this board?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thanks for bringing me on board. I really appreciate it. I feel very, very honored to be here. So I've lived in Red Lodge since 2021, I think. Moved here from Washington State. I was out in Washington for the Navy for about the last decade and a half. I actually grew up there, but happened to end up at the end of my Navy career there. Spent 24 years in the Navy flying F-18s. Now I'm flying for United Airlines out of San Francisco, even though I live in Red Lodge. So I drive Bozeman, fly to San Fran, and
I usually just fly like long haul routes over the Pacific. It's kind of my route, so.
Cool.
We used to be neighbors at the little house in town.
Mhm.
We have moved to a bigger house outside the city. But yeah, I got involved with we moved here because we like all the things that everyone likes at Red Lodge. It's gorgeous. Folks are really nice, and, we love the weather. So it's not dark and rainy like Washington State, so
Yeah.
we're just like, hey, east side of the Rockies is the place to be. And, yeah, except for the spring. And, so, coming here mainly for skiing, but then, really started getting into the hiking and mountain biking scene. And so I started working with Beartooth Trails, got on their board, and I've just been slowly coming to these meetings, basically on their behalf. And I just really like what you all are doing here. I think it's really important. And I've kind of, initially when I first moved here, I was more fond of stuff outside the city, but I've got real little kids, and, I'm really starting to get attached to things that to be done in the city, that's low-hanging fruit, that doesn't take a ton of effort and money and time. And so that's really kind of been driving my family's focus. And I think this board really, that's where you guys largely operate with the parks. And so, that's why I wanted to join, to help affect, and improve and, steward what's going on already here. I'm also the guy that did the pump track presentation like 4 months ago, after whoever was here. Yeah, that's still a project we're working on with Mike. So anyhow, that's pretty much me. I've got, my wife Sherry, she's a stay-at-home mom, 2 kids. We homeschool the kids, so pretty slow, boring life. It's awesome.
Oh, there's a kiddo.
8 and 10. Yeah, girls 8 and boys 10. So,
Yeah, it'll get a lot more exciting in a couple of years.
yeah, it's pretty slow right now, and they, at that age, they just think we're awesome.
Yeah.
And they listen to what I say, generally, unless it's bedtime and they're hyper,
So were you out of Bremerton?
No, I was at, NES Whidbey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I spent the first decade in Lemoore, California. There's a huge Navy base down there in the, south of Fresno, in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
And, then I moved up to Whidbey Island about 2010. And they've got fighters and like sub-hunters there. Did that for 14 years. About 10 years of it as a reservist.
Mhm.
So I started working for United at the same time, kind of doing both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so now, here we are.
Well,
Welcome,
Okay,
John.
welcome.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be
We have
here.
a little reversible magnet that says, today I'm in an F-18, today I'm in a passenger jet.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. It is a
Fly
problem.
accordingly.
Yeah, the Navy will, to this day, will allow you can fly 2 airplanes in the same day. They used to let us fly 3 different airplanes in the same day.
Wow.
And I had guys that, pretty old, that were training me when I was new, that would start the morning in an F-18, and then at lunch they'd fly an F-5, and then they'd finish the afternoon in an F-16. And they would have to just sit down before, at the brief and spend their own 10 minutes, like, okay, this airplane does what? And, and
And
I don't know.
this one has passengers.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And those same guys were reserves too, and they would go fly, 787s, and not so much now. I just fly one airplane, 787, it's good.
Did you train at Fallon?
I did, yeah, I spent a significant time, way too much time in Fallon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well,
Yeah.
again, welcome.
All right, thanks, good to be here, everyone.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to, number 4, which is the Arbor Day Park Volunteer Cleanup and Events. And I had, did I skip something again?
No.
No?
No, because 3 got moved to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
I
right.
just hear her in the background. And
Yep.
okay, so Arbor Day Park Volunteer and Cleanup Events, and I had Mike and Sarah on there, and
Right
some
now,
updates.
kind of that is our removal project.
Yeah.
I was told when we were, when I got the notice that we were awarded the grant, that we should not do any work until we have a signed agreement. Haven't got that yet. I emailed them a couple times and it's in the works, but, we haven't moved forward at all with that yet. I think it'll probably come in the next week or 2, and I don't see it being a delay, to get the trees that we need to remove
Hmm.
before that. I haven't worked with Sarah at all getting Arbor Day organized, but I don't think it's gonna be that much this year. I think if we start maybe June 1st, we should be able to get it all put together. So it kind of circling right now,
So we're shooting for the date as
14th.
the 14th
What
still,
we're planning
like we
on.
did last year, about the same time.
Yeah, we did 15th last year, I think 14th is Saturday this year. I think that's what we decided last meeting, we were gonna do it on 14th. I think I am gonna try and incorporate the pruning into the same day. I was kind of on the fence about putting too much into one day, but I talked to the arborist and he thought we could do it. So it'll be like a 1-hour little workshop on pruning trees.
Would that be located in the park then, somewhere we
I think
have?
we'll probably do it downtown here.
Okay,
We'll meet up there and then come down and do some of these trees on the side streets that really need pruning.
yeah, they do. The public will be invited.
Yeah, no, it's a workshop, that's the point, is to
Just kind of concerned
educate
if you,
people how to prune trees properly.
if you got 50 people in that area in the downtown and along a sidewalk, is that
Well,
gonna
we're
be?
also gonna be planting trees, so they're,
Okay,
I don't anticipate, well, last year we had like 42 volunteers,
yeah,
some are replanting trees.
okay.
I don't think everybody's gonna get to do everything, so.
So Sarah, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I was just gonna say regarding the parks cleanup, we were missing Mary Dell and Rod last week, so I don't know. We kind of decided last meeting or last month that we would all own our own park cleanup efforts. Pride Park happened today, at 10:30, led by the Garden Club. So if you guys can all this month, depending on what park you own, make that happen, that would be great. And then I'm gonna plan some sort of reception that we can invite, the volunteers that helped clean up too. I haven't worked through that, Roger. I a little confused. I wasn't able, am I not able to email between meetings?
No, you can't.
Okay, you made a comment at the end of last meeting about not communicating outside of the meeting, and so
Well,
I didn't pursue anything or move forward with anything because I didn't want to, overstep any bylaws.
yeah, Mary, you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like the protocol with, communicating through email is that if you initiate the email and the conversation, people should apply, or should reply to you directly and not all, so that we don't get sort of a unofficial quorum
Sure.
discussion. Is that?
Yeah, and that's, I don't know that, my first high-level thought is I don't know that this committee necessarily falls under that. Having said that, I think it's a very good idea. And so the way I would do that is when you send something, if you send something out to, so you can share information, not a
I'll
problem.
just BCC
But if
everyone.
If you BCC
Yeah,
everybody,
exactly.
then when they reply, it will just come to you, and I
Perfect.
think that would be fine.
Okay,
That's the equivalent of you having 5 different conversations and bumping into people at the grocery store and the hardware store
Yeah.
and.
yeah.
So is it, as an advisory board, is that really a big deal?
Like I said, I don't think it is. But I think there's probably wisdom from a perception standpoint to doing it, but you guys aren't making any decisions, and therefore I don't see it as being problems. But that's what I led with, if I didn't explain that very well.
Okay, good.
All good?
It's all good.
Okay.
Does anybody have a contact for the Rotary Club? The Rotary Club, of course, is involved in, Rotary Park, and
We've
That I
got
can
a couple of
contact?
or you could reach out to Sandy as a starter, she could tell you who the current
Okay.
is, but, I have a question, do we have, I know that you have the list, but in thinking, so, council meeting last time, we told everybody, month is the May, May is the month, that we're doing cleanup, and what I hear you saying now is the individual park owners or sponsors or whatever,
Each of us
Our-
owns a park,
yeah.
and so whatever park you're
Each park
responsible
has
for.
a champion that is doing that. We should probably make that list available online, so we can say, if you have a question about this park, reach out to this person.
yeah, we can do
Yep.
that.
So I'm happy, that was gonna be my next point. One, are all the parks assigned now with Madeline
I do not have.
being
that on
replaced by
the,
Luke? So do we need to talk about assigning parks again, or reassigning? And then secondarily, if people want to let me know what date they decide and time frame, I'd be happy to put something together or post as those come up.
And I'll be happy to post it online too.
Okay.
If you've got it there, as
So
the
we-
dates are there.
We have missing parks, Madeline had one that was a little more highlighted in Lyons. Creekside has an ambassador, but, you know, not much is going on
There's
right
really
now.
not anything there.
Yeah, Creekside isn't really what I think what we said last minute in our minutes was that we were going to have availability for cleanup day throughout the summer. So May was not the month, because we were looking for good weather. So if May is anything like it has been the last week,
It won't be, but yeah.
right, so,
So then do you want, well, is that,
sooner than later is better, but I don't think we're making that part of the Arbor Day, Earth Day thing. I think we took it out.
it's not, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
not
it's separate.
connected, but in April, I thought we decided it would happen in May.
And I think that's what I had in my notes too. And
Earth Day and Arbor Day combination, Maples can coordinate as part of the tree grant project, June 15th, proposed, which I'll correct, 14th. Volunteer help needed, Thurston, Gunn, and Root to help. Annual park cleanup can happen later in the summer.
Okay, well, I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
we just all need to agree, and then if we decide to do it throughout the summer, then is the reception at the end of the summer?
that's what I
Does
was
that feel like
gonna
we just kind of lose
Suggest.
momentum, or?
Maybe we do the, set a date in August and try to get all the parks cleaned up before a certain date in August, and then have that reception you're talking about.
Okay,
Sound okay?
yeah, I like that a lot better,
Okay.
because it's not as rushed, but.
Well,
So-
I can send out the list of the parks.
Okay,
And, if you're not an owner of the park, if you want to fill your name in one of those places, just let me know and we'll take care of that then, that manner.
Yeah, Roger, I would also ask that somebody join me on the Coal Miners Park.
Okay.
We've always had two before, Luke, okay, that makes me happy.
Happy to.
Okay. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there.
big.
Yeah, it's hard.
So Mike, if, we get a cleanup going, and for instance, we get a volunteer group to come out and clean a park up, and do you guys have trash bags or
Yeah,
things?
we can, just get a hold of me,
Kind of like
we
a,
can help out.
like adopt a mile
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, and then just leave them there and you guys pick them up?
Sure.
and we're sure we don't want to make it all on the same day for ease of gathering supplies,
Right.
et cetera. Again, doesn't have to align with Arbor Day and Earth Day, but,
So Sarah, here's my opinion on that. Some parks it might work out, so just thinking of coal miners with a bunch of user groups, and Max can attest to this, there's a lot of people that help out there, but I know we miss out by doing it on a Saturday or Sunday, we miss out on the whole, soccer club because they've already started traveling team games. And so it's like, that's a big group.
yeah, yeah.
And, I think they should help.
So you're saying maybe they do it on a weekday or an
Yeah,
evening or
and so that's
something?
kind of why I've
Okay.
always promoted, like, if we stagger it a little bit and, for instance, like Luke and I reach out to the user groups and say, hey, you know, when you go, let us know, we'll get you stuff, but we would like to see it happen maybe in the next 2 weeks or something, you give a little window, and you task them so that it doesn't become a board member job after that, per se. And then we get more people involved, and we always have good turnout, I think. I think one time we had like 12 people up at Coal Miners, and we didn't even have little kids, we had all adults working, so.
Okay, cool. Is there any sort of budget at all for the reception or any additional supplies that would be needed? Like if we just wanted to get some gloves, like if I wanted to put some sort of kit together that could be given to whatever park is doing their cleanup that day, is there any sort of budget?
I wanna,
I mean, I think we can pull money out of the parks project
Okay,
fund line,
okay.
so.
Okay. Does it seem doable for everyone to have their date at least set on the calendar before our next meeting?
I think so.
Okay, so if we could come back with those dates, then I could put something together and we
Mhm.
could post it up online and around town.
If you get it to you even in the next week.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, as soon as you.
Yeah, as soon as you have it,
As soon as
but,
we firm up our dates, we should contact
sure,
you and
okay.
let you know.
And then I heard the commemoration day, which last time I said toward the end of May, not necessarily.
Say that again, sorry.
As I look at my notes from the last thing, I had, May is gonna be Parks Cleanup Month, more to follow on a commemoration day toward the end of May. Getting details to be
Okay,
set. What I
I'm
think
glad
I
I'm
heard
not going crazy.
What I heard is not,
Yeah, all good.
is that it's not necessary, and to the point earlier, if the parks don't get cleaned in May because of bad weather on the day we showed up, we'll have another day, and
Sure.
Right.
it may need it even once or twice, sort of a thing, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily a one and done.
Yep.
But then the commemoration day, what I heard, not necessarily in May, or,
Well, I think we're deciding that cleanup can happen anytime throughout the summer. We'll plan a reception for early, middle of August. Does that
Yep.
sound good? Is that?
so we'll celebrate a summer of clean parks.
Yeah, there you go.
Or just the parks
That's the way
in
to look
general.
at
We
it.
could, you know, we have all this planning time now. Maybe we just make it
Yeah,
a really awesome, I don't know, I'm just kidding, but just celebrate the parks in general.
I'm glad you're into it, because I'm all about just do the raking and a little bit of.
any other comments, questions? Okay, let's move on then. The next item on here is, Parks Project Update by Mike.
I haven't heard back on the Pride Park. I haven't got a final drawing or a budget from them yet. I was hoping to have it before today. I think it's coming very quick. So how we proceed with that project is gonna depend on that number. I don't really have a good guess. I have a guess, but, I'm not gonna say what it is.
Because we'll hold you to
In
it.
terms of parks projects, we got the tree removal project will get rolling here as soon as we get the paperwork signed. Devin's on board, ready to go, get rid of the big trees. Willie's already been working on the small trees. So that's moving forward. I hope I talked to Dawn. I was gone for the last week. I talked to her while I was on the road. I believe all the porta potties are out now. I think we did put one over, we added one over by, the Civic Center for some T-ball that happens over there. And I think we were putting one at the tennis courts again this year. I think we did last year, didn't we? I can't remember. Was there,
Yep, there was
there was a
one.
porta potty up there. I think soccer, you guys, they got theirs, didn't they?
I don't know, but I probably would have heard again, if not, I bet they have it.
And off the top of my head, I met with the folks refinishing the tennis courts, and we went over some stuff. I think some of the project money will go towards new nets, pickleball nets, and then we'll dig out that bad spot, hopefully find the line in the sand where we can stop, and then we're gonna backfill it.
There's a house to the north,
What's that?
there's a couple houses to the north.
Yeah. I think I have a pretty good idea what we're gonna find.
Bodies?
No,
An empty mine shaft?
no, I think it's gonna be newspaper.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
That's what I was told too.
Yep,
That's
Well, if you find some cool ones,
they
say,
use
running
newspapers
rumor.
to
From
fill it,
what?
That's
from the old newspaper.
the most common story I've heard is that there's no foundation in there, and they filled it with old newspapers and then built on top of it.
Yeah.
One of the guys that's
I
on
heard
the
that.
public works crew 3 or 4 years ago, when they were trying to patch that soft spot, took a spud bar and shoved it all the way in. And he's a big guy, and then he laid down and he kept shoving, and he got where he couldn't shove anymore.
Wow.
So,
Huh.
I think there
Now
might be
it's a
some merit to
fun job.
the newspaper story.
I guess they didn't realize that newspapers can decompose, huh?
Yeah, so I think it'll just be a
Right.
bunch of mush when we pull it out, but, I think we're gonna use some of that project money to repave that. We're gonna bring our grinders that we're using on Broadway on the sidewalks down and smooth up some areas prior to the guy coming in to, resurface courts. And I think that's gonna happen in August-ish.
Probably.
We can't dig on the courts until May 21st, so that's coming up.
What's the May 21st?
They're done with high school tennis. We're sticking a little more money into the ball fields, helping them with the, batting cages. I think we're gonna end up buying the nets, they'll put them up. And I'm hoping that project will get done this summer. I might look at, right now, we're only gonna do AstroTurf in kind of the vital areas. I'd like to do it all AstroTurf. And I'm gonna look at that and see if that's within the budget, because I just wanna do it right and nice, and make it something we can be proud of. We did get into the bathrooms last week at the ball fields, and we ran a new water line in there, because the water line that was coming in there was it was bad, so we fixed that. I think that's kind of it on projects as far as budget stuff goes. I meet with Lonnie in the morning, go over stuff, and kind of moving forward, I'm definitely gonna be looking at the skate park wall and Pride Park is kind of, those are on the top of my list, is to try and get some money for. I don't know if we'll get enough for Pride Park, but it'll help, and I think we're gonna have to go look for some other money than city money for that, but I think that's all I got. Any questions?
I see, have you got your staff pretty much hired for the pool?
What's that?
Have you pretty much hired your staff for the pool?
I think so. I haven't talked to, Aubrey for a week. We're short on lifeguards. If you know anybody that wants to be a lifeguard, we need lifeguards. We cannot fill lifeguards this year. We've got, I think, right now, 8 or 9. And, you know, we're gonna have to cut hours if we do that, which, you know, I think cutting, like, not being open on Monday is not the end of the world, or, you know.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, we're moving forward with that. We're looking at startup, getting the new heater going the week after next week. Just gonna be firing it up and getting the pool all online, so.
And you were shooting for a target date in?
We're aiming for June 1st. I don't know why. That seems to be what everybody wants. It's too cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we are pushing lessons back this year, because the first round of lessons last year, the kids were hardly in the pool. So we're gonna push them back 2 weeks before we start. Because, they need to be in the pool to learn how to swim. It's too cold at the beginning of June.
Well, there's some hardy folks about 7 o'clock in the morning doing their,
What's that?
there's some hardy folks about 7 o'clock in the morning
Kids aren't that
swimming.
hardy.
Yeah, they're not.
They don't have the insulation we grown-ups have.
Are you mainly trying to get, like teenagers or college age kids?
We'll take anybody, and we're willing to work with, I would actually love to have, some people that were not teenagers that wanted to be lifeguards and, you know, wanted to have, you know, whatever, 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
That would be fine. So if you know anybody that has time, has interest, likes the pool, spread the word.
Okay.
I've put up flyers in Roberts and Belfry, in the schools. I've done a table at the school.
Have you asked any of those hardy 7:30 swimmers?
What's that?
Have you asked any of those
I
hardy
have.
7:30 swimmers?
I have, they
7:30.
were disinclined to acquiesce.
Yeah.
But the short version is, pool is happening, but the hours are gonna be limited by lifeguards. So if you want there not to be limited hours, help chase down more lifeguards.
Yep. All right, any questions for Mike? Okay, then we'll move on then. Thanks, Mike. All right, I have on here the draft City of Red Lodge 2025 capital improvement budget, and I think I sent that out to everybody.
Is that the last version of the picture?
Well, you know what, I think I've actually found 3 versions of it.
on the city website, or?
Well, there was one on the website, and then the mayor sent me one that was a little bit different. And then I went back, and somehow I found a third one, and then I went back to the website, and I think they must have corrected the
Well, we
one on the
updated it.
website.
We updated on the website.
Yeah, and so the one I sent out to you, I think, is the updated website one.
Okay, and we're really looking at 3 pages, because there's parks in here, right?
Right.
You don't need to be concerned about the rest of it.
No, our discussion should just be centered around,
Pages 22 through 24.
exactly.
Okay.
And do you have those available? Everybody have them with them?
No.
No? I have, can I put this
They're
on?
in,
I
you sent
couldn't-
them, didn't you, Roger?
Yeah, I couldn't, it said I had to download it, no preview, and so I thought I did, but then I couldn't find where it
So you know
went.
what, that happened to me too,
Yeah.
and then I went out from my email, came back in, I just double clicked on it, and it opened. But it wouldn't let me download it, my computer was saying that it was potentially,
Corrupted or something.
yeah.
I wonder if it was, they pulled the link on it. I found it, but it was not on the front page, which is what I was hoping. So if you do a 2025 capital improvements plan,
I have it on my desktop, and I don't know, can I put it on the screen up here?
if you want to share your screen.
Yeah.
It's your, yeah,
I think I'm sharing the screen, but
you're not.
I'm
Your
not.
wife is.
Yeah, I know, just keep an eye on me.
So go down to the bottom will be where you'll have share screen.
Okay.
Maybe at the top, it depends on.
I think I may be out of it now. Let's see.
Are you, and you're still in Zoom, so just go to that Zoom window. And then find share screen.
Okay.
Is this for FY 26? Is that what this is?
It'll
What's the
be
time?
for the next 5 years.
It's a 5-year capital
Oh,
improvement.
thank you.
Okay,
Need some help, Roger?
probably.
Is he a presenter on there?
He is, yeah, he's there, he's just not sharing the screen yet.
I think I got.
So go to your Zoom meeting first.
Going to go here first?
No, because you're already in it. Your Zoom meeting is up, you're already in it.
Okay.
Oh, no, okay, let's do this for a minute. Go to your Zoom meeting. Now that you're in Zoom,
Okay.
you can share your screen. And just do share, and now we're looking at you while you go find whatever you want to find.
Okay, right here.
So now you can go into that.
We see everything you see on there.
Kind of scary.
I don't know why I'm trying to be funny tonight.
You're
You're
hilarious.
sitting in,
Up there?
All right.
it's sitting up there.
Way too official.
It's thinner atmosphere. And then if you Windows or Command Plus, it'll make it bigger so that people can see it,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
Command
No,
plus.
Windows Plus. Or no, it is Command, yes, I'm sorry, Command Plus is what.
Or can I just go up here like that?
That'll do the same thing.
Okay. Need to get down to Parks and Rec.
If you close the chat, Roger, will it,
I minimize
Oh,
it
sorry.
since there's nobody
I
here,
didn't realize.
I can make it a little bit bigger.
Can you read it?
What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to full screen here, which gets rid of that side window, maybe.
that helps.
It doesn't do as much as him going bigger, but
Thank you.
We
Okay.
can read it.
Good job, Mayor.
you can go
All right.
plus a little bit more.
Nice.
How's that? Too big?
No. Can you get rid of the panel on the left?
Yeah, I think so. Hit the okay?
No, so like over on the left where it has the two little icons, one's blue and one's white, there's either a bar that'll drag there. Let me see how it works when I'm active. Minimize it.
Way left, way right.
So,
There you go.
Way over here?
Yeah, see the blue, what happens if you click
Right
on
here?
the one underneath it? The one underneath it, click on the white one.
That one?
Yeah, does that get rid of those thumbnails? No.
Nope.
Just grab the bar in between the two and drag it to the left.
This one?
No, the one between all the stuff, yeah, there, go a little bit right, 1 inch. There, no, a little bit more.
Left.
Yeah, grab
Oh,
right
it's
there.
where the
drag it
white
left?
So
meets
if
the
you grab
black.
that and just drag it, will it let you resize it?
Nope.
Maybe not, okay. A lot of that, my body just does automatically, and I don't think about it, so.
Hmm.
You have to slide it around a little bit.
That is not wanting to drag, is it?
No.
Huh. Well, let's try this. Let me take a look at this. There's 13 projects listed here in the narrative, a little summary of every project. But then when I was looking at the chart, there's a chart that kind of summarizes it even more. That I'll move on down to that. There's only 12 in the chart.
Oh.
And it looks like we left out the Rocky Fork Park Trail System out of the chart. But it might be easier just to look at the chart.
The chart, you mean the table?
Yeah.
Table, yeah, I'm
The
sorry.
Rocky Fork Pathway Trail is number 2, and Rocky Fork Park is number 3 on there.
Yeah, there's 2 Rocky Fork Trail projects in the
Roger?
narrative, yes?
See up at the top where it has 21,471 or whatever, and it's got 3 lines next to it?
Yep.
Click on those 3 lines.
Ah, perfect,
Oh.
good.
Okay, so this isn't the one that
I'm looking, Mike, this one is
you sent in our
April 10th. Is that
attachment.
the latest, or do you have another one that's not been posted yet?
And that was, there's probably, does that one have photos and stuff in it?
No,
Oh, then there's a newer one,
newer one than this, huh?
yeah.
Okay.
It's
And
the one
Roger,
that should
this
be
isn't the one
online.
you
Can you
sent us.
pull up the one online?
I know.
That is, I'm looking at it online and seeing
Oh, really?
410 was when it was last updated.
I think I pulled this off the web just
Well,
a couple days
and
ago.
somehow I don't think the new one got updated online, or would they wouldn't have taken the pictures out, did they?
No,
Oh, yeah, if it doesn't have photos, then this isn't the final rough draft.
This isn't the final rough draft?
No, for the final draft.
Okay, well, let's just kind of go through them. Stream bank
We'll go
stabilization,
back to the table.
the table.
Yeah, 'cause I can probably tell you what's been added.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, we added, Pride Park bathrooms back to it, and we changed, it's not field school tennis courts, it's, coal miners park tennis courts and pickleball and it was field school court, rehabilitation or something like that. And we changed the language on the permanent hockey facility to something more ice. I can't remember what it was, but, and I think we might have took the stream bank stabilization out of it because I couldn't figure out why they had that in a park.
that was one of my questions.
Yeah, we never
So-
talked about that in here.
Yeah, so I think that's not in there anymore. And that's the best I can remember, so.
Mike, I'm looking at from you and I don't have it, so I'm wondering if, so you responded to Kitty on the 23rd and says there's some updates. That's the last copy that I have.
Yeah, there's one probably from, like,
Formatted copy up, all right, I've got it, hold on. What I'm
probably
gonna
one
do,
around the end of April would be the, might have been, yeah, right in there.
so if you wanna go to your email, Roger,
That's what I'm trying to do on the
oh
phone
yeah,
here.
well, you have a different hard copy pull up, if not, I can pull it up on mine and join and share as well.
Okay,
Can I make one super quick comment?
sure.
It might be helpful for public perception and understanding to show private money sources for
Yeah, and
The
if
field
we
school and the-
know what they are, we would add them over there on the.
Well,
I
the
guess
coal
we could
miners,
add-
it's US Tennis Association.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think actually we might have added that, we'll
Okay.
find out.
Yeah, small point.
I think we did. And if we didn't, we certainly will, on both the tennis courts, because there is private money for both,
No, there isn't.
for,
Dave, are you pulling it up?
what's
They
that?
just fund tennis.
What are our options?
Oh.
What,
Probably
Yeah.
for the
What are we
coal
doing?
miners people.
But we just
Yeah.
go through them so we know
But
what
other private money
is
for,
in the,
for field school.
Field school, yeah,
Right.
CIP
Yeah.
budget.
right, so it'll be other funding sources.
Yeah, not
Just sort of the
besides-
input we want to give. It's draft,
No, we'll
it's a draft
definitely
right
get
now.
Yeah.
so, is there a way for us to know what part of these are in Parks budget?
These are not, this is kind of we hope to do this. None of these projects
Doesn't
are
talk about
budgeted.
funding sources.
None of
Okay.
them are.
Okay,
This is where we want to go, this is our
Yep.
vision of
Yep,
what we
okay.
want to do. And it's a planning document, and when we go to, say, apply for a grant,
yep,
if it's included in there and we've identified this, it matters to them.
Right.
It's not like we just had we saw this grant,
Okay.
oh, now we're turned up tennis court, no.
Well,
You really have this in your plan,
yeah.
kind of deal.
And I think it just makes sense
Oh,
for
yeah,
the,
and it's just estimated costs, and depending on how far out these projects go, if we ever get to them, those numbers are gonna change. I mean, the Rotary Park bathroom's probably been in the CIP for the last two.
Yep,
Um,
okay.
It's just,
And the 16-inch water bypass has been there for the last 20.
yeah.
Are you sharing the new one? Or if not, I
Why don't
can.
you share it?
Okay.
I just think it's a good idea for the board to go over it and get the input. I mean,
No, and
a lot
I
of
would
these are,
encourage
these are park
everybody to get-
projects.
Well, a lot of them are on our task list we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some that, that,
get online and look at it, and, if you have comments, just get them to me. This is a really kind of broad document, so
and that's what it's meant.
we can, I mean, within reason, we can put, I think, almost anything onto it. It's kind of,
So we're at the point that the board could talk about projects that maybe aren't on here that should be on here, or,
Well, yeah, we're definitely at that point. If
Yeah.
there's a park project that is a capital project, and you think it should be included in there, yeah, we need to know, because we're hoping to approve this at the end of the month. So, but it's not too late now to add anything.
you know, for instance, the Eagle Nest site. You know, are we still looking at that being developed
I
as
think
part of the
we
park?
added that.
It's on
too.
here.
Is it on there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in there, I just forgot, but it's
Okay.
in there.
And should the disc golf course be on there? Even if it's not the city,
For what though?
Funded.
Like a new one? Has to be a capital project.
okay. And the capital project's defined on
So
a
it'd be
certain
like
dollar amount.
building a new disc golf
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
Oh.
Wasn't somebody talking about adding 6 holes?
About 6 or 7 holes.
So does that,
I believe, Tom Coley, submitted that proposal.
You did
Yes,
at the last
cool.
meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could.
so would that,
I think
should
we-
that be
I
included?
think we could add it.
Okay.
What page were you on, sir?
Okay, so
22, I think.
So,
let's,
Let's see if it's close to that.
we need to talk more about the disc golf, because we had a presentation that they would like to expand.
mhm.
They would come with a proposal. Some of us got a drawing yesterday that would need to go on an agenda, right, within time. And I know that a couple of those holes are already batting cage locations that got approved last year. So,
Yeah, I
we
think,
don't know what that project is. I mean, we're supportive of relocation and expansion, I think you said that. we're gonna have to add that.
But we don't have to have a final design for any of these projects at this point. I mean, it's a concept that we need to know, should these be part of a capital project improvement plan? You know, should the disc golf course be on there? I mean, if a plan is not on, if a project's not on the plan, it can't be forgotten about, right?
That's the one that she sent me that I edited, Dave. That's not the one that she sent me.
That's the latest copy we have back that she, so you're saying that's still,
She missed some comments in there.
okay, let me go back to.
So I guess that's why I'm asking about the budget, because we have tasks and projects that we highlighted 3 months ago that might seem small and ancillary to this kind of project. And so when Tom mentioned a budget for about $9,000, you know, to help expand, that, to me, that doesn't fit in that fits in more with the tasks that we have in our other to-do lists that are smaller. Do you wanna drill into that level of all the things? I don't know,
No.
he's nodding.
No.
I
No,
mean,
shaking
little
no.
things we can do,
That's why we're bringing it up, though, what goes in here and what doesn't.
Okay,
big capital projects.
Yeah.
Big
So-
projects.
Yeah.
You know,
Is,
a new.
is that based on a
A new.
dollar amount?
pool.
Again-
$5,000 in a lifespan of 5 years, I
Okay.
think is the.
That's what I was getting at, is there a dollar amount in a lifespan to it?
oh, and you guys wanna firm this up by the end of this month?
We'll
Well,
take how long it
I don't
needs to
think-
take
I
to
think
be
we need to-
appropriate.
Okay,
Have broad strokes on it. I don't think we need to put in, you know, the wall at the skate park.
yeah,
Um,
okay, so
this
could
is-
we,
That's something
But-
we
but
can do
Right.
right now.
A restroom
These are things
facility
we're
at a park.
thinking about
Right.
in the next 5 years.
so then maybe the comment that you have in there about coal miners, because you've also got the huge drainage island issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could say that there's coal miner improvement
I think that's it.
projects.
It wasn't the last version, let's see if it's here.
Yeah, it is.
Coal miner
Oh, that
improvement.
looks better.
Yeah.
Do you wanna look at it this one, or you want me to go down?
Yeah, exactly.
That is 13, Mike.
Mhm.
That one has 13.
It's different.
Yeah.
Park okay. So.
And there's Eagle's Nest.
Mm.
We need to increase it a little.
Yeah, that's the right one.
So this is the most current one, right?
Yeah, 'cause the dollar amount went from 7 million
I
to
don't know
9
what that
million.
is. Oh, that's a pump track. She forgot to put a pump in there.
Are you making your edits, sir? Are you
We have
making notes?
5 park restrooms, yeah, we do.
So anyhow, the reason I brought this up was I thought it'd be a good opportunity for this board to take a look at these projects and have, you know, ask any questions, if they had any questions about what they are, or if,
Dave, can you go back there? I wanna take a picture.
or if there is anything that,
Thank you.
that we have talked about that may not be on the list, that probably should be on there. And
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna forward this to Roger, and if you will forward it out to everybody BCC, then they have a copy too.
sure,
So is that, Dave, is that one online?
It's not, but it will be tomorrow.
Yeah, and Roger.
It's on the internet,
Roger
it's gotta be true, give me 10
just
minutes.
attached an earlier version.
what's that?
You attached an earlier version of the email.
Well, there were about 3 versions at that point.
Yeah.
So there's, we're probably up to 4 or 5
It's
now.
about to get close.
No, this is like end of April, pretty like the 30th of April, because it changed by the day a couple times.
This is the final rough draft.
So what is the deadline that you're shooting for to?
It's now, so it's not a deadline, it's a shooting for. So
Okay.
we'd like to have it done. This is one of the planning documents that in addition to the growth policy and the downtown master plan, kind of define the ideal future state of our city. And so the answer is, we're not rushing to put out trash. If we need to add, we need to edit to it. That's what it is, and we'll go from there.
With the growth plan, and what was the other one?
Downtown master plan and the growth policy is what it's called.
Growth policy.
And so, like I said, those 3 documents together are defining the ideal future state of the city. And then from there, we can go back and address zoning regulations or ordinances or whatever else to help make this stuff be So pump track should be, so I heard pump track, what else?
For edits.
Yeah, for edits.
We need to add in there that for the Lions Park skating rink on the funding side, some of that will come out of that tourism grant, won't it?
That's what I heard from
Yeah.
Tom Pitts.
So that
Yeah,
means that
the
the field school tennis courts, we'd add private donations to the funding source.
Mhm.
So as not to limit user group improvements at coal miners, can pump tracks be rolled into number 11?
What's number six?
I would say.
No, but by highlighting it, I don't want to seem exclusive of other user groups that are trying to do improvements at coal miners.
Meaning like soccer improvements or something?
Like-
And disc golf.
Well, what about the
Baseball,
cross-country?
I mean, I think we're,
Talking about too.
by not.
My 2 cents is we add disc golf, that's another project.
Okay,
What
does that,
does it cost us to put in the ideal disc golf we'd like to have?
okay, let's do that, because I don't want this to seem exclusionary.
Right, no,
Yeah, that makes sense.
this is, hey, what happened to disc golf? So we need to write down disc golf. Okay, what else? So I've got pump in front of track and disc golf, what else?
Something about the funding
Nothing about funding, we're just
lines.
imagineering here.
Well, no, but, okay, somebody said add,
Oh, and I'll get those.
So like
Okay.
Tom also brought up Nordic ski track up at coal miners with that.
Okay?
Well, that was the
Does
winter
that count?
use phase 2 of the grant, so do we,
It should be on here, if we see
Okay,
it
then
happen
you-
in the future.
then you
Yep.
need to maybe put what Nick Gaddy talked about last month regarding the sledding hill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nordic track and sledding hill at Coal Miners Park.
but I think actually the sledding hill is kind of like to be determined. To a certain extent.
We'll put it in
Right.
here.
Right.
This is like throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks,
Okay,
so.
Well, it's to remind people in the future, we had this conversation, that we wanted a Nordic track and a tubing hill.
Yeah, exactly.
We wanted a disc golf track, or a disc golf course.
okay, okay.
There used to be, one of the versions of this had a tree nursery on there. Is that up there?
Green,
There was,
It was on there.
there was an old CIP, I didn't
It's,
actually know what it was.
It's called,
a
it's called
green nursery.
Green
So
space.
that-
Green Space.
And so in all the
Nursery.
years I've come to meetings as a participant or a board member, I've never heard that.
I asked what it was, and nobody
It
could
sounds
remember,
good,
so I
and
took it out.
Well, and to me, it's like, it sounds almost to me like a business the city has no business getting into.
Exactly, yeah.
Courtney had mentioned something that they kind of wanted to start a nursery that would grow native plants that we would then use around the city. Potentially sell, potentially just use, so kind of incubating plants to be able to use. So that could have been what it was referencing, but.
Mike, yay, nay?
Well, Salt Lake City has a nursery,
Yeah,
and they plant,
We're not Salt Lake City.
I'm just saying,
Exactly.
that city,
I
is business,
don't wanna get
they
into
have a
my-
nursery. And if you request a tree in your park strip, they put one there.
And they
I'm
have-
just saying.
No, I'm not arguing. They have they have somebody to run that and take
Well,
the money
well,
and pay for
They
that
have an
cost.
urban forestry program, yes, and they're a big
And
city, but I'm saying a city is involved in doing that. So it is something that cities do.
That's a city with 2 commas in it.
okay,
Well,
let's
I would
move on.
say because it wasn't brought up, it's not something that we've actively been talking about. It probably doesn't make sense to go on this list, but I don't know that it's kills the conversation.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
no,
I
no.
just go to Mike and say, is that
Cities
something we
are
want
involved
to?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm
Well, and the reason I brought it up is
seconding what
because
you're
I don't
saying,
think
because
it's
it sounds
something
like
you
you're
want
being
to
shut
do.
down, so I'm
I
just
was
saying.
being shut down.
Not really.
I don't appreciate
There's too much maintenance to them too.
We have 2 months to grow things.
Exactly. All right. Any more comments? Any
So
other-
being shut down, sorry.
Do we have any other comments, any other suggestions that should be on here or shouldn't be on here?
Have pump track, disc golf, Nordic track, tubing hill at Coal Miners Park.
Okay,
Did I miss anything else in the back and forth?
I don't think so.
Mike, is there anything else you want me to capture as your note taker?
You know, I think we're good. I'm gonna go make a couple changes, but as long as we get those big things questions in there.
Okay, I'm just taking your notes because I didn't see you taking them, so.
Yeah, no, that's good, thanks.
So we can look forward to another, version of this, huh?
Apparently.
Well, when it
I would
goes out for
encourage you to
public
look at
comment,
it on
they'll
your
be-
Yeah.
own, Because I think there's a chance we could have a public hearing before the next meeting, the Parks Board. Right now,
Oh, I heard what you're saying. So this is, let me rephrase what I hear you saying, Mike. This is Parks Board's final chance to discuss this as a group, possibly. There will still be a public hearing where everybody comes and talks,
yeah, and if
and
you
you're
guys
the citizen, so,
review
but
it,
is there any others you guys want to add, for sure?
That's why we put it on the agenda tonight.
Pardon?
That's why it's on the agenda tonight.
I mean, if there's something pops up, call me, let me know, I will, if we
Okay.
see it, we'll put it on there. Like I said, it doesn't matter if we have 25 things on there, it's not gonna hurt us.
About a surfable wave.
Right.
Okay, so
Good dreaming,
then, I
right?
guess the only thing
Big
about
orange
the stream
lifeguards.
bank stabilization that we're saying the stream bank maybe
Yeah,
doesn't belong
That's
in
not
here.
park, there's other stuff. Okay.
So now I might beg to differ with that a little
Okay.
bit, because Creekside, and we have been waiting to hear what FEMA and the DEQ were gonna say about Creekside and the pier.
Okay.
And that is park, it was a park,
So
and we
put-
have, remember, because it was like, we couldn't do anything until we know what they're gonna do with it, and I think
And so we can add Creekside Park Development just on here?
Well, that's a project that's starting now anyway. It's in process.
No, the bank reconstruction is not going to the piers on either end.
Oh, okay.
It does not extend to
This
this
is
spot.
separate. This is a different project.
yeah, I would like to see Creekside thrown on there.
Okay.
I mean, it
Creekside
keeps
Park.
it in the discussion, right?
Okay? Do you have a dollar amount you think we ought to throw onto that? There is no wrong answer.
$5,000.
No. If you're
No, more
talking
than
for
that.
bank
I'm just-
reconstruction, you're talking.
I'm just talking about a.
Just change the name on line one, just keep
Which,
it up.
by the way, I saw a friend video on Facebook jumping in there the other day. Maybe some of you know who they are, him. Had great fun, but I would be very careful about doing that. There is rebar under the water at
Yeah,
the
that
pier.
scares me right now.
Well, they get a lot more
For the
views
people
if
in
he
this
does
room,
that.
yeah.
Oh, is there signage that says there's rebar? Then we need to put a sign up.
Danger.
It's, I don't know about that.
It did
Well,
kind
you
of-
know what, we're
It kind of
drifting away.
fell
Let's-
off the radar, Krieger Park.
Do we have
Okay,
anything
got
else
it.
you want to add on here? Going once, going twice, 3 times?
Still going if you have thoughts after that.
That's right.
We'll have to Just shoot it to Mike.
Yep. Okay,
And we'll get you guys the copy of this via Roger,
okay,
so that you can comment.
very good. All right. Let's move on. We are at the draft board bylaws, and Mary Jo, do you want to kind of cover what you and Ann
That was a long time ago.
put together?
Are you guys done with me?
Yeah, we are.
Let's see.
And I have copies.
Mike.
If anybody needs a copy.
Yeah.
Oh, you may have,
Thank you.
Quick question, Les. Let's take a quick question.
Sorry.
Copy. Stick on there.
Hey, see you guys, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for weighing in.
See you, Mac.
Well, I can tell that was the latest.
Same topic, the CSE hearing,
I'm good. Oh,
Okay.
Chad's gonna be here.
Unless we don't, because we're not having it.
so Ann and I went through, and we didn't have that many changes. The main thing was changing our meeting date from the third Wednesday to the first. That's in section 1 under regular meetings. And we also added, where the notifications are posted, which includes the City of Red Lodge website now and the Facebook page, not just the post office and City Hall. So we added that. We took out the Community Development Office, because I don't think we have one right now. That's under section 3, special meetings. And then, under section 6, we took out the, community development director or city planner, and we put public works director in, and then we had some questions about, voting, section 8. The member must leave the table during the presentations, hearing, and deliberations on the item. I don't know if y'all had a chance to look through this yet, but, it just seemed, Roger and I were talking about this, it seemed, I don't know.
Well, that whole section 8,
Yeah,
and again, I think maybe this is a question for the mayor. When you have a Zoom meeting, does the individual is a Zoomie participating through Zoom, are they considered part of the quorum?
For this body, yes.
Okay,
Our council is not because our charter says otherwise, but that, basically, whatever you guys have for your minutes, so Zoom can be part of it, part of the discussion,
Okay.
can vote and everything else.
okay, good, all right.
City council cannot.
And so are you guys are just adding, or did you highlight must leave the table to
I
discuss?
just wondered what y'all thought about that, I guess.
First of all, we don't have a table. But the idea would be if somebody had a conflict, they could leave the room or whatever, they just can't participate in the discussion.
Yeah, and they shouldn't, if you have to abstain for whatever reason, you should not be involved in the discussion either. So it's not
That's right.
to persuade everybody and then just not vote.
But can you
Right.
sit and listen silently?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't really need to leave the table.
No,
Right, or
we're just not part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we could take that out, I guess.
I think, yeah, I thought of that as symbolic.
You know,
Leave the let's.
Oh, sure.
I
That's a
have,
good point.
Abstain during the presentations, maybe that's the word.
What I have found to do it from, what I do from a council standpoint or from a planning board standpoint, is you have somebody leave their position and go down into the audience, because it's like, I'm taking off this hat.
yeah,
Can I ask a question? If that person, maybe they are sitting there instead of here, but they're hearing everything, and then they take that out into the community and are influencing people because they've heard this knowledge.
That's no different than public sitting in the
Okay,
meeting.
just,
No,
okay,
It's
that's-
okay.
That's, it's
Just wanted to
but
clarify
it's
if
just
it
the
matters
voting
that
and
they were privy to the information or
I
not.
missed the first part of the conversation, I apologize. What are you talking about, just your minutes and your rules,
these are our bylaws.
Mhm.
your bylaws?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I had a couple comments. I did review your work, and thank you for taking a stab at it, because sometimes you just need somebody to go redline
Yeah.
something, and then it gets this going. So, Luke, we had the wrong week in our bylaws for when our meetings were, but for years and years, we've been doing it the first Wednesday of the month, and in here it said the third Wednesday of the month. So we wanted to correct that. And that also opened up, well, take a look at it and see if there's something else to change. So, I guess it would be Lonnie that would make these changes. So I just made notes like, if we are saying herein referred to as Parks Board, then they should search and put Parks Board in everywhere.
it should be everywhere.
Parks, Tree, and Rec.
Yeah,
Secondly, is there any reason why we can't just say terms of the board shall be 3 years and remain consistent with ordinance 918, blah, 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 until such time as that is altered by the city? Because I think somebody should come to our bylaws and be able to see that it's a 3-year term and not have to go into the ordinances to find it. Because somehow we had a
We had-
discrepancy.
Yeah, and I think the appropriate answer is we're still always gonna go back to the ordinances, however, so I like the first part per ordinance, blah, blah, blah.
Right?
I don't think it's necessary to say all and change, because what's gonna happen to do it right, somebody looks at the bylaws and then goes pulls the ordinance and says, yep, that's the latest.
All right.
Yeah.
So leave, okay, so nix that. And then on section 6, public hearing procedure, I guess I'd like to read this a little bit again, but it was confusing. Item B, the chair, Public Works Director, gives an oral presentation, not any oral presentation. That didn't make, that sentence doesn't make sense.
It's just a bad word.
The
Well,
bad word.
Yeah,
okay,
it's,
so
it's a valid word, but not the right one for the context.
gives any oral presentation required.
Okay, so
Describing.
read, preface the paragraph. In matters of high importance, Parks Board may hold a public hearing. It drops off.
As
It's almost like it's
determined.
missing something. Then it goes, A, the chair opens a public hearing, blah, blah, blah. That's a full sentence. Then B, the chair, Public Works Director, gives any oral presentation required describing the application outlining his, her written report.
Well, you know,
To me, that's not complete.
Would that be board?
my comment on that whole section is, can't we just delete it? Because it's really, the whole section is related to public hearing procedure. You know, our meetings are public meetings. If.
What is a public hearing?
Well, that's
So a
exactly,
public hearing is a legal requirement that we have, that you guys don't have because you're not passing resolutions or ordinances.
exactly.
Then, yeah,
I
scratch
think,
it.
I think that whole section could be eliminated.
Okay.
And if we have to have special meetings, it's clearly, enumerated in there in how you,
And
how
then
you call
you-
special
you
meetings.
can deal with it how you want as the chair,
Yeah,
but.
so I think section 6 could just be taken out.
So if we do take that out, Roger, is there any possibility that parks activities don't come back to us, that we might not know about park business handled at the city level? So I think we need to check that
I'm
section.
not sure, I don't understand what you're saying there.
You do have you have a council person
Yeah,
on this body, so there
Okay,
should never
so
be
what-
anything that is not.
you mean something that comes up at a council meeting, between our meetings, or?
No, if, if the city has a public hearing and talks parks business, is it possible that anything in this section, by getting rid of section 6, that it takes away our involvement in that public hearing?
Well, this section 6 here is in case the Parks Board has a public hearing. I can't imagine us having a public hearing. I mean, we have,
We may hold one.
it may hold
We may
one,
hold
What
one.
if we have a public meeting about the tennis courts?
but we do that.
Every meeting is a public.
Every meeting is a public
Wait,
meeting.
A public hearing.
Public hearing is a legal statute. It
Exactly.
means something. And it's tied to, like, if you're changing the utility rate, the capital improvements plan will have a public hearing, and it's noticed as a public hearing, and you have to open it and then take comments and then close it. And you do that prior to making a decision. You guys aren't ever making any decisions,
Exactly.
so I don't think it's.
I don't think,
Who runs the public hearing?
I don't think the public hearing
You do.
really relates to it at all.
Yeah, it's like you see this go away.
So now that we're just sitting here with board people, does the tennis court situation proposal at coal miners require inviting a little more public input than attendance at the meeting?
It absolutely will at the city, at the council level.
Can we hold on that until we're done with this?
Yeah, let's kind of stick.
I think that's a good, but can we talk about that and just,
Or
Fair.
does it fit into this conversation? I
Fair.
don't know.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think that's a good conversation.
Okay, sorry.
Can I, are we moving on?
Yep.
I didn't have anything else except to change chair and secretary. I'm fine with it.
Oh, yeah, so Roger and Beth at the very end.
And then what I don't know is, so do you guys make your recommendations and council stamps it? Your board of, I'd have to research that, your bylaws? I know who they did for the planning board, but planning board's in a little different category as well.
Well, yeah, I wish Madeline were here to answer that, because I don't really understand the process. I'm so green on what, the secretary we post, but, like, for instance, if we change the minutes, I don't know who's uploading the minutes and the agenda to the website, 'cause
You
I
guys,
don't.
they're
I
mailing
don't.
it to Danae, and that's who posts them. Well, the recording comes from
Yeah,
here.
yep.
And then if nobody's emailing her minutes, minutes aren't going up.
No, I email her minutes.
Okay, that's where they're coming from.
Are you filling the secretary role now, Beth?
Yes.
Okay.
But we didn't have minutes posted for this meeting from the last meeting
Yeah, we did.
on the web. We do, we
I
had,
sent them to her last week.
they
I
weren't,
don't-
they weren't posted on the
Well,
web though.
we got them in an email from you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Are
she-
they posted in conjunction with that meeting?
when you go to the web and you go to the meeting section,
Okay.
it has all the departments and all the different, commissions and that.
yeah, Roger, they don't usually until they're approved.
No, they didn't have the April meetings agendas. They didn't have the meeting from the
The minutes,
meetings from the April meeting on there. They had our agenda for May.
We just approved them tonight.
Yeah, how would they be
Oh,
up
that's
if we
true.
had an,
Yep.
yeah.
So March
Yep,
should have been
yep.
there.
March should have been there, but they weren't.
I'm gonna go look and see.
All we had was the agenda.
Well, it's not unlikely in the past that the minutes trail. But I don't post anything to the website. I give them to,
Sure.
now, if,
You give them
what I'm
Lonnie.
supposed to do is after tonight's meeting, send her another email that says, we approved these minutes, and they need to be posted, I can do that, but I didn't really know what the process was.
It seems like that would make sense.
mm-hmm.
And if I go in and look at this, I don't know if this is because, this looks like it cuts off in December, so maybe it's, yes.
Well, let's get back to the bylaws real quickly. If we go back to section 8, and we talked about A, but section B, subsection B, I think it's another section that can be eliminated. And that's the section that talks about ex parte. Again, this is a term that's gonna be used in a legal type of situation. The ex parte basically says that you can't talk to only one body when you're talking about an issue. You have to talk about both parties, you know. For instance, you know, the part, if you watch television and you see court cases and the judge says, let's go to the conference rooms, two attorneys, they take both attorneys to the conference room for the discussion, so you can't have a one-way, conversation. I don't think it's relevant to
No.
an
So
advisory
ex
board.
parte would be like here, if somebody from here was talking to somebody who was gonna financially put in a park down here or something. I'm gonna push, you guys are gonna get the contract, yep, this is gonna go, there's a financial conflict of interest there that's a private conversation that ought not to be a private that's not a conversation that should happen for somebody who's in the decision chain.
And really, and have legal ramifications as well. I just don't think it's, a part of this, a part of our advisory board.
I think it should stay in there, because we shouldn't do that. If Rod says to somebody that he knows builds tennis courts, hey, this project's coming down the line, and I'm gonna pull for you to get it, and he's talking on the side about a park project, Rod, I'm sorry,
No,
that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I think that should stay in there, and we're now apprised that we don't do that. It has to do with the definition of ex parte, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is a one-sided conversation without another party having some input. But we can leave it in.
Yeah, I agree.
That board person should remove themselves, though,
Yeah,
from any voting on that.
It's, or an interested outside party, so that's what, you're having a conversation with an interested outside party rather than a group or the quorum.
Now I'm getting paranoid.
Well,
Like,
try-
Do you think you're
Well-
paranoid, wait till you're mayor?
yeah.
Um,
Anybody see any other changes?
Well, I just have, section 3. Article, under organization of the board, section 3. I should technically be kicked out. So I'm just wondering, are we holding ourselves accountable to those attendance guidelines?
We just said maybe replaced.
You quit your job so you could come to me.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe.
That's dedication.
All right.
So how do I look at that, Sarah? When you're here, you're involved, you're engaged, and you try. And the only thing that might be different is that you communicate to Roger.
Yeah.
That's what it says in here, that you're not gonna be at a meeting. That's different than the person that just doesn't come and doesn't give a shit
And
about
so it
what's
is,
going on.
because currently it
Because then
says
you want them off, so
maybe.
you
I
can get
know,
a
I
person
just-
to
It
work.
says maybe, not shall be, is that what you're saying?
Yep,
That's
Yeah, I
what
think
it
if
was
it's
said.
maybe,
All
then
right.
leave it to the board.
yep.
Okay.
So if they, just
And
know
nice
you're at
try,
risk,
Sarah.
right?
Nice
You're
Yeah.
at risk.
Yeah.
So you better be worth it when you show up.
Yeah,
Well, that's why
Nice try.
now I'm in a new job, and first meeting in the new job, and I was early, so hopefully that will be the new trend.
Good.
And then on page 1, when it's talking about elected officers, is that specifically referring to, sorry for my lack of knowledge, but to people that are holding a specific position, like secretary?
Mhm.
Or, okay,
Yeah, and that gets to be renewed every year.
okay,
So if you don't like what's going on, you can make a nomination to re-elect somebody again.
okay. And that happens in January, like
Yep.
it says.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
If you remember, we used to say Amy wants to be chair again, so we would vote to keep her on, and
And we would always vote yes,
of course.
because she was feeding us every month.
So, so my only thing about the public hearing procedure is maybe what we do as a board is make a recommendation that not be in there. However, maybe somebody needs to tell us.
Yeah, when you say make a recommendation of the board, what board are you talking about?
Well, so we're not going to approve these tonight, because we're talking about it now, so I think we should have a clean copy at our next meeting, and then vote to approve that then.
Why
Is that-
couldn't we tonight?
No? I don't know, because we don't really have a clean copy.
Have you
have a
been
draft.
taking notes? You could make a clean copy?
Yes, I can, or
Okay.
Danae, I'd make it Danae to do it, but
Sure.
yes. Uh-huh.
I like that idea,
I
just
think-
being able to
yep.
see our changes.
Okay, the clean copy would be new markup.
No.
No, it'll just be,
I
On
think-
council, we do both, so you have a clean copy that has no markups, and then I have an edit that says this was added, this
Yep.
was taken away.
and that's what,
And
So
we
we
generally
see-
present both
Yeah.
of them.
so we
Well,
have
no,
to,
because we're making changes to what even you two provided.
right, and
If
so
you keep the notes of that.
I am going to give this to Danae and ask her to give us a clean copy.
So this will include more notes that we talked about
A-
tonight.
A cleaned up red line and a clean.
Yeah.
So Mary Dale,
And
that's,
Danae, who did that before?
so Mary Dale, that's important, because that allows us to see the vote we're taking next month on exactly what we changed and what we approved.
And then it will go up on the website
Yep.
Yeah,
as we,
yeah,
okay, all right, so,
because you're taking notes,
yeah,
there needs to be
so,
another redaction.
all I'm really doing is going through and making it Parks Board, because we have it on the
Right.
first page. And, it'll have your name and Roger's name at the back. The date is corrected. We're leaving the voting in, right?
Right.
Were we gonna take out the must leave the table, or is that just,
No, I think it's,
I wouldn't worry about it.
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
just leave it as it is. And Roger pointed out that they have to make a fair and impartial decision, not partial. So that'll be fixed, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Just a little minor detail there.
Yeah, so I will, and she'll take out section 6. She'll just like redline that or highlight it.
Yeah, it'll be red line so that you see
Yeah.
it's there, and then the blank is just not there.
Right, she can put a line through it.
I'm not saying I don't disagree. I think I was reading something else when you guys, can you just explain why that can be taken out? You don't have to go through the whole conversation. I heard parts of it, but,
Because we aren't gonna have a public hearing.
We're not gonna be holding public.
okay, got
Public
it.
hearing is a legal term that's in front of the council.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
And
And we're just about.
Mary Dale, just a real minor one on the
Got it.
first page, right under Article 1 name, where it has in red here and after referred to as Parks Board, that should be right up under that first sentence, not under official seat.
So,
See what I'm saying?
so what is,
Do you guys not have somebody in your group that's word savvy that can do these markups directly, rather than shifting it to staff?
Not me.
Not me.
I can edit a Word document and track the
And
edits.
track changes?
Yeah,
Good.
sorry, I did,
No.
is that all you're asking? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
You're not
trying
gonna
not
get
to
kicked
pile
off the
stuff
board
up
now.
on.
No, that's fine.
So I would say yes, except, I'd like to do it on Google Docs, but I'm nervous, because sometimes you change in Google Docs and it's like changed.
Well, Sarah, you can do it.
You
I
can track
can.
edits in Google Docs too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can.
I can-
really bad
Oh.
way of like, ugh.
do you want me to do it in Google Docs?
Do interesting things like if you change fonts, or if it doesn't have the same font set, or default
I don't
markings
know,
and stuff.
we
it
were
can be
working with, yeah, it was goofy.
Yeah, it gets a
It was
little
very
wonky.
goofy.
Did you get what I was saying about the?
Yeah,
I'd like to make a suggestion though on section 6. How about if we said, in matters of high importance okay, I don't want to say the right sentence now, because that's not what I'm thinking, but I think we should leave it in, and I think we should say, in matters of high importance to items falling under Parks, Tree, and Recreation Board, a public hearing will be deferred. If a public hearing is necessary, it will be deferred to city council hearing procedures. So that we have something in here, but, because what we're saying is, we don't do that, it would go, if it was so important and it was involving the city and the parks, it would go to the city.
It will take place at the council level.
I think
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, that's fine, you can leave it
Yeah.
in there, but I think, logistically, I mean, realistically, we're not gonna be having public hearings.
Well, we're not saying
The
that.
city council is gonna
But
have,
what her approach gives you is the ability, it's not there because we didn't think about it, it's there because it's gonna get handled this way.
sure, and that's fine. I think if you wanna do that, as long as we understand.
and I think it
About why we're
states
doing a red line
that we are
document.
taking things and there's an importance to it enough that it does need to be handled differently than just in this
Yeah.
quorum or this audience. So I think it's worth calling out.
I'm happy to suggest a sentence, but I would feel better that we say.
I think if you can put it
that
in
there
there,
could be public hearings about Parks Board
Stuff that
items.
comes from the Parks Board, but that'll happen at council.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's fine, if we put it in there so that it's understandable for, because we're all not gonna be on the board forever, right?
Because we're gonna die.
And we're gonna die, and you told us all that the last, tennis court meeting. And there was stone silence after you said that too. But,
It was like it was new.
but again, you know, like, we're all gonna die, and there's gonna be new board members here, and somebody's gonna say, well, do we need a public hearing on this? It's gonna cause some confusion, you know? These are our bylaws, we don't do public hearings, but if you think if there's a case where we understand that there could be a public hearing on a parks and recreation matter that we're not doing, that the city council's doing, if you think
And
there's
then
a
the
reason to leave it for
she's
that,
gonna craft a sentence, and then she'll send that to Sarah.
yeah, that'd be fine.
And then you
You
guys.
gotta be
can all-
really clear.
Because this is public, like, anyone can access this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's important
But I think.
for
we're
people
saying
outside of
that
this group to know
there
that
could be a
too.
public hearing about a parks item,
Sure they could.
but it's going to be handled in a council setting, not in our public meetings, not in our board meetings. That's not what we do as an advisory board.
In fact, you can even say that.
Okay.
The Parks Board does not hold public hearings.
We are an advisory
However,
board.
yeah,
If there's if a public hearing is required on a parks
Okay.
matter, it will happen, yeah. So
yeah,
that's the sentence she's gonna.
yeah.
And then do you want it done in Google Docs, Beth, to remain in the same format as
No.
all of our other documentation?
You
Okay.
can do it in
Because this
Word
is
for
a
now.
Word document right now currently.
Okay.
Mhm.
Doesn't-
So
What we need to do is make sure we get you the Word document so you can do markup.
Yes, please.
bylaws are like making sausage.
She has it. It was.
Oh, yeah, I
in
have
his
it.
Attachment.
Yep.
In Word document?
Yep, it
Yep.
was in Word and
Mhm.
it,
Roger
Sure
said
was.
it.
In the Word.
Well, and that
Sure
can
was.
be, this can come
Okay.
today.
Okay.
Okay,
I can send that to you.
any other changes?
Oh, 'cause that's the, yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
that'd be
Word
great,
document.
yeah.
Okay.
'Cause this one doesn't have the edits in it.
Right, okay.
Any other changes?
They didn't show up on the phone, it was weird.
Oh, so maybe if I,
you
And-
hold on then, let me open it in
Well,
Word, 'cause it
Did we
might.
address whether Zoom counts as a quorum?
It is a quorum.
It does, yeah.
And
Is that gonna get put in
And
there?
the Zumbi can be a voting member.
Is that sentence gonna get changed to say that, or is it just implied?
Well,
It'll get changed.
Quorum means voting, is that the question? Voting
Yeah.
Quorum means you get to vote and you get to involve.
Section 7 quorum, I just had a note, like, does Zoom participation count?
yes,
Yeah.
it does.
It doesn't say anything about Zoom in the current sentence.
I can
Yeah.
wordsmith that.
Including Zoom.
Because these were written before we had Zoom.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had.
Okay.
Is your question, does it need to explicitly state remote counts, or does, it doesn't state remote is not allowed?
And I suppose there's probably a better term than Zoom, because you
Yeah,
have
No, that's what I say, remote.
Go to
Yeah,
meeting.
remote.
Virtual attendance.
Virtual attendance,
electronic
yep.
call in,
attendance.
whatever, yeah.
So like I said, in the case of council, our charter, which can only be changed by the voters,
Right,
says
you have to be
physically
present.
present.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't say virtual council, it says you must be physically present.
Yep. That's back in the days when they drug the councilmen out of the bars on Broadway, pulled them in so they could vote.
Now they drive us into the bars.
Yeah.
We drag ourselves into the bars. We don't need
Yeah.
it, no, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, girls, for taking a stab.
Yeah, no kidding, good work. All right, are we ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
Okay. We are at park owner ambassador reports. And so Luke, you'll get a chart table that will have all the parks listed, and it'll have what is called owners, and the owners are individual members of the Parks Board who takes responsibility of kind of overseeing that park and kind of keeping an eye on it. And, I'll be sending it out to everybody, as we talked about earlier, because there are a couple that are missing names. For instance, I have Finn Park and Rotary Park on that chart now. And Sarah, you have the dog park and
Pride.
Pride Park.
But so Anne, you're participating here. You're not like a true Parks Board member. Like, you're in attendance representing the city, correct?
I don't remember what park, I'm on sustainability and parks, or one I can vote for, one I can't, and I always
She can
forget.
vote here, and she is considered a park
She's
board
a
member.
park
So
member.
can she have a park?
She wanted the dog, she thought she had the dog park.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that was
Sarah
gonna
has
be,
the dog
I
park.
think we should, well, let's open
We can
that up
share
for discussion, because
Yeah.
with Madeline now not being assigned to
Mhm.
Lions,
Mhm.
maybe I would do Lions and Ann takes, like, so
Yeah.
maybe we just
Why don't we
discuss
just- why don't
how,
we just let's just make the decision today.
Non-parks members can be ambassadors.
Yeah,
okay,
So if we wanted to, if you wanted to participate with Madeline, I bet she'd
Yeah.
say, oh, yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah.
That would be great.
yeah,
Prince
that would be
Madeline
my
had the
plan.
skate park, I think, didn't she?
Yep,
She
and
had,
She had
Lion.
Creekside too.
Creekside, yeah.
And what is it, Moose Tracks? What is the kids'
Yeah.
park?
Playground?
I think it's
Playground.
part of Lions, but maybe
Oh.
not, or I wonder if on the sheet it was just, but, okay.
All right. Okay, so,
Madeline has.
any reports from parks?
I
There
would
you go.
still like to have the path graded in Van Dyke Park where it got rutted out. It's been over a year, maybe a year and a half now.
Are you
that-
talking about the two-track trail
Yeah,
from the
that
utility company?
Northwestern Energy contractors rutted out the trail, and, I know that they say they're going to fix it, but it's been a year and a half at least, and it isn't fixed, and I noticed that the path from the dog park to the rodeo grounds got graded. So, I guess it got messed up pretty badly when they, moved the snow for the ski touring.
Oh.
But anyway, it's just a little thing, but, you know, if you're not very stable and you get, had puddles of water in it today,
You're saying on the trail.
on the trail,
So
on the
where
path.
they swatch through the middle, then they cut through the trail, because I haven't been down at that end.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the effect on
The
the
north
official
end.
trail.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
part of the loop there.
And there's kind of an open gate, an opening
Yeah,
in the
they-
fence
they-
there.
They didn't cut the fence, but they pulled it back, and so it's still, and I think Mike said they're gonna put a gate in, but they haven't. It's just a small thing, but, you know, if you're trying to negotiate that trail and you're not very stable on your feet, it's not a good thing to have it like that.
They were gonna revegetate things too, weren't they?
Well, I did notice, that at the south end where they really tore things up, there's some great clump grass coming back in and little sage bushes, so, there is a cheatgrass issue, but we'll try to take care of that with the parks cleanup. And, Anyway,
So can I repeat back and you tell me so what I've got right now is an email going out to Mike, copying, doing copy from the meeting.
okay,
Trail in Van Dyke, disconnect Parks Board after you left. NWE has not yet restored the previous trail to its pre-existing state.
right,
So specific issues are a fence was taken down,
yes,
and then the other one is the track is now a two-track, a trail is now
there's
overrun by
a
a two-track.
two-track that started at the street, and they just came in and went down the
Whole line.
pole line, and they went
when they ran
across
across
the
the trail,
path,
They rutted
they
it,
disrupted
and they
the
rutted
trail.
it out.
yeah.
And it's been like that for a year and a half.
Okay. Anything else to that description?
Well, how about the, closing of the fence too?
I got the fence
Okay, you got
included
that?
in there.
And
And
the
I've got
gate?
both of you guys, so you guys can add whatever comments
Okay.
and whatnot that's
Well,
there.
Mike needs to talk to Northwestern, because they said that they would get
Yep,
in there.
and that's, so, yeah.
Okay.
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 Sarah, anything on,
I haven't been up there in a little while. Ann?
My dog's at the ranch working, so I haven't been there in weeks. So,
It looks fine.
with the dog?
Mary's-
I haven't been up there in a while either.
Not much poop.
Wow.
I think with the addition of the trash can, that's really, encouraging people to, pick up and.
You'd be
recycle.
surprised when you start actually looking for it and cleaning up. There's a lot, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go out there barefoot.
Yeah.
Where I see people in flip-flops, and I was like, you do know you're at a dog.
Yeah, I
Right.
know, I've seen that too.
And it just
Post
starts to
winter.
get a smell about it too,
Yeah.
like.
Well, and the can really gets stinking, but my observation is, anecdotally, is it gets used a little, there's a little bit less of a, oh, I don't know what to do with it, and so I'm gonna leave it there.
Right,
And so the can does help. And the other thing it does is when people donate bags, where they bring in the bags in is no longer the most convenient place. That, they said, I've never seen one of those go more than a half an hour before it was ruined and you couldn't use it anymore. So-
Yeah,
so it looks pretty good. so
okay,
far.
good.
The two bridges, they, have sand or dirt on them, to smooth it out, I guess. And it's just gotten, shifted, I suppose. So you're walking on
Is that about corrugated entry?
the ribs of the.
I can go up there in the broom and some sand and make it all beautiful. Is a stream running on the other side yet?
No,
Okay.
Right. That, is the fence in good shape all the way around the perimeter?
No. There's one spot on the far side that I know it is not, because we were up there one day and somebody came in with a chainsaw and some trees had blown down and landed on top of it. We forwarded, actually, that one may have been done, because I sent that to Willie that day.
Yeah,
But the answer is we probably ought to do an inspection and see.
yeah, I think so too.
That's a good
Is
thing
there
to
still
do
a
on that
bungee
dog
cord?
park date for the dog park.
Is there still a bungee cord for where the
For the
metal
gate?
piece broke off? Yeah,
No,
for the gate.
no.
Okay, they did officially fix that. Okay.
it's a little sticky. You have to really make sure that it closes.
Okay.
It's been fixed.
Rod, anything for Field Park, and what else, you have another one too, I think, don't you?
Yeah, it's a top of McGillen Trail.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
that's in pretty good
It
shape.
is in good shape.
McGillen, right now, unless somebody's got something I'm unaware. There is the, board at the top for
Mm-hmm.
contacting people, that still needs to be fixed.
Yeah,
The trail
Trail,
map,
trail path,
Yeah.
there's a board up there,
Mhm.
yeah.
kind of by the picnic area.
What's the deal
What has been done to get that situation improved?
It's curling.
It's something,
Well, I
I
thought
think the
we
trails
were
people
gonna get
made,
all
and
the
I think
Well,
Mike was
it's
going to get
signed
it
by
addressed or had one
Dog
made
Park.
or
I know it's
something.
not.
but I-
Are they aware of it? We do have somebody who happens to be on that board now, by the way.
Yeah,
I thought,
That
oh
wasn't an
yeah, that's
accident.
right.
yeah, I might take a look at that sign.
They were gonna look at
So it's
that.
kind of messed up at the top of the trail.
I
Yeah.
believe it still was last time I went by.
Well, and
Yeah, I can bring it up to them.
Interpretive signs
So,
and,
so that's top
I
of
wonder if
McGillen.
we should add
Wasn't there a,
completed and uniform signage to the CIP. That keeps getting bumped.
wasn't there an initiative to look at all the signage?
We've,
Yeah, there was.
been
I feel like we've been talking about it for years.
on our,
it's on our make it
It's on,
happen.
it's on our priority list.
But is that partly involved BRTA, or not, it's not BRTA now, but.
Did you guys sign off on all the addresses for the parks too?
I think we should have.
I
Yeah,
didn't see what they were called or anything.
I think
Did we get addresses?
I can resend it. I got it on,
For every.
oh, I sent it to you on 4/2. Did you send it out to everybody?
I think I did.
Painted or refreshed.
Send it to me again.
Okay.
And,
I'll
yeah,
send it
Lion
out.
Park and then.
That was a
Maybe
big
I
one.
did.
But the one right by the dog park for that trail.
Yeah, send it to me again.
Rocky Fork, yeah.
All right, anything else?
That's it on
So it
McGillen.
doesn't look junk,
Um,
you know?
for field school,
Yeah.
which is my other park, there's a lot going on there, obviously. Mike kind of updated us on tearing things up after the 21st of May. The other thing that, is going on in the library, people want to put their signs up again.
Mhm.
And I told them I'd bring that up today. They're doing a couple less signs than they did last year, but they would like to get after that as soon as possible.
You might want to avoid the whole end where the tennis courts are.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to tell them about that, because it's gonna be
Short story,
very,
Yeah.
abbreviate that thing a little
short
bit, yeah.
poem.
Are they, so they're doing a different story this year?
Yeah,
Will the signs look relatively similar?
very similar.
I think, I heard a conversation on that today, that the library is getting up, but it sounds like there's gonna be as many signs as there is. Interesting enough, this board, you guys heard some of the complaints about the number of signs too, right, or did I?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah, so
told
they-
they'd have a couple fewer signs, but a couple is not.
And they said, oh, we never hear anything but good, and I was like, I've been in meetings where that conversation has not come up. So I would say reach out and talk to, whoever's got that, reach out and talk to, Jody on that. 'Cause I know she was talking with Willie about that today,
Talk to Jody.
Jody Moore at the library, if you need her contact.
Or
information,
Sarah
you know.
Milligan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah's the one I've been talking to.
Okay, Jody's the one who was in the conversation today, that's why I gave her name, so, yeah,
Jody's the head librarian.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Sarah was owning that specific project, but,
Yeah.
so
So I will tell them about that, but that's a good point, if they're gonna tear things up,
Yeah,
that's gonna be a messed up story.
yeah, they should really avoid the tennis courts.
Maybe
What do
they
your
could
kids
just
think of the
stay to
stories,
the south end
Luke?
and do
The stories?
round of green
Yeah.
space.
We liked them, but,
I might,
yeah, we'd lose interest about halfway. We'd
see
quit.
what
We'd
Mike-
make
It
it,
was a long story.
we'd make it like down the, you know, what we call the Littlewood Park
Yeah.
side, and then we'd take a right, and we'd get almost to the batting cage area, and by then they were like just running around. So,
Yeah,
about, like half,
okay.
attention span.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does, Phil School Park have an irrigation system?
Kinda.
Okay,
I'm gonna say no, it needs one,
all right.
yeah.
I cannot make that any bigger, but there's the addresses that I sent. I can't see how to make that bigger on here. I wonder if I do this,
I thought I sent that up, maybe I didn't.
and I do 20, does that make it bigger?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting that coal miners is Chambers Avenue. Interesting.
I think Chambers is the street that runs up to the high school, isn't it?
No,
Chambers is a north-south.
Chambers is the one that goes to those little condos. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the list was provided by this group, and these are the assignments that came back.
So this is Coley,
Tom Coley, yeah.
110 Chambers Ave North. That's like you go to the end of that thing and you'd be at the fence line with the baseball diamond.
Yeah, you would be, kind of where it does a little hook.
I have a question about that. I'll talk to him.
Huh.
I'm gonna put it in my phone when I leave here.
Glad to.
Okay.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm resending it to,
1010 Chambers Ave North, right? Okay.
so I'm sending it to Roger, who can re-forward it to all of you guys.
I had one comment on the signs for everybody. Is anything going on with the Be Bear Aware signs?
We are working on that, yes, so that's a separate initiative that's coming in. There's a couple of conversations about whether we can put them on the Red Lodge signs, and then right now we're looking at, although it's a price, they're looking at from a price difference. Right now, if you come into town, there's a big 4x8 foot sign that is, Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary. What we're trying to do is they're looking at a divider, so it's like, Be Bear Aware and education is available at the, so it's kind of like a one sign, two purposes. It's actually an MDOT sign. We're not really sure the paper trail that got on that, but we are not anticipating we would have any trouble if we swap it out, so.
Ask later.
Pardon?
Do it first, ask later.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things. We're trying to do things right and repeatable, so.
Yep.
So that's maybe, like, if you came in and noticed the speed signs coming into town now, that's played a part. You'll notice we're the only ones you see that are yellow, because that's what the rules say.
I'm just wondering about the
Taking
bear
down
signs.
signs up on-
I heard
Yeah.
noise up on the hill above my house.
Say again?
I heard noise up on the hill above my house about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
It wasn't me.
Was it a
Wasn't
moose?
you? Somebody had a headlamp, and they were yelling at something really loud, "Get the blank out of here." And that was that.
Oh.
Middle of the night, and the
Well, bears-
headlamp,
The bears
they're
are out.
walking that trail, you know,
Yeah.
up there.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It was telling
Some
whatever
people
it
are wise
was,
and some
or
aren't
we
wise.
need to get the F out of here. if
That's
they're
what they should have
saying-
been saying.
If they're saying,
It
get
was
the- that
literally-
makes me
I'm
really
pretty
sad,
sure
no
it was
matter
great.
what it was,
So this is a distraction.
even if it wasn't
but
there.
This is Bear Aware Month at the sanctuary, and on the 19th or someday, they have a People Awareness Month, and what they're doing is they flip the script. And so it's all like they're gonna be telling the bears, now be careful, you're in humans, watch out for the humans in this, that.
Oh, cute.
So it should be kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cute. Anything else?
No, that's
How
pretty
about
much
Coal
all I
Miners
have.
Park?
Coal miners, I don't know anything further about a shed going up on top. They haven't come to talk to us.
I've heard conversations, so Brian's talking to somebody, and what I've heard is it's gonna be a portable shed,
Brian who?
Brian Hanna. So in other words, it's not gonna be a building code. If it doesn't have a foundation, if it's a portable shed.
Right.
And that's what the conversation has been about right now. And that kind
And
of
then Mike
leads
Maples
into.
would be involved in where it gets located?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, and so, and that's kind of a great, I don't know if you wanna, but that kind of goes into the courts at the corner option, that you started to raise a minute ago about public input and whatnot.
Right.
We had a little bit of a meeting, Roger, may I just summarize? So we were kind of having a little meeting in, so one of the things that kind of came up is the trees up at the observatory. And what I don't want to do is, like I said, one of my focuses on, let's do things so it's repeatable, scalable, the same now, tomorrow, and 4 months from now. And so the trees up at the
Observatory.
observatory is, as we batted around building permit, not building permit, we talked about the pump track, we talked about this golf course. One of the things is, if it's a change in the use of city-owned land, then it goes to council, has that public hearing, has that public forum. So like when you talk about that corner being done to the courts up there, and we're displacing a disc golf course. I don't hate disc golf, but
Right.
I'm concerned if they've homesteaded there, but it's a public discussion that needs to happen. So kind of what we were kind of batting around beforehand is, if it's changing use of a city-owned park, that goes rightfully to city council. But putting a temporary shed doesn't change the use. If they're overriding.
No, going to city council, I agree.
Okay.
No, but.
But a
users
temporary-
should not be able to put something anywhere they want. For instance, they should say it's like the trees, even though they're not permanent. If you wanna put something up there, Parks Board should know about it.
Sure.
So it shouldn't just be a conversation that Brian, because
That's a good point.
Yeah,
each user group may not know how they impact other user groups with the
Amen.
placement of something, but we are more sensitive to all the user groups, and so we need to be involved.
so we're still planning trees by committee, and so at what
No,
point?
No, we're not.
No, planting trees, you mean at the
So
observatory?
so like, if they had put trees at the observatory without coming to the Parks Board first, would there be squawking and squealing
Yeah.
and gnashing of teeth?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Okay.
If I was riding my bike by and I saw digging and a whole bunch of stuff
Yep.
going in there, I'd say, well, wait a minute, that's not right, that's a city park, they need
Yep.
to do something.
Okay, if they,
It doesn't
if they
require.
put
Or
a
like,
portable, if
keep
they
your
put
dog
a-
on a leash
if they
sign,
put a
metal sign
portable
screwed
shed,
into a tree.
if they put a portable shed
No, it really
at
bothers
the
me.
soccer field, should that come to the Parks Board Committee?
Yes.
Okay. If they put in a bench to remember dead Uncle Fred at the dog park, should
Yep.
that come to the
Yes.
Parks Board Committee?
Yep.
Yes.
Us and or Mike Maples.
Yeah.
Which
and
I
that-
consider him
I
part
think
of us.
all of those, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
That's just, and that was kind of the feel, is what's the appropriate level and what's not the appropriate level.
Right.
I think we should extend these meetings to 2 hours, so I don't keep looking around.
Yes.
It was 20 minutes, but, just so I can relax, but we're right into that with good old disc golf, which they're getting short shrift because they don't have a big footprint. People think, hey, we can move the tee box here, or we can move the thing here, but.
I don't think that has anything to do with their footprint or the interest. I think it has to do with they, what's the word I'm looking for? Homesteaded. They didn't check with anybody, they just put a hole in.
Squatted.
So it's not their footprint.
And-
it's
Do you know
they
that-
did
do you
it.
know that for sure though, Dave?
Can I speak to
Pardon?
that?
do you know that
a little
for
bit?
sure?
But it's
I've asked,
not
nobody
just,
has a trail.
If I could speak to that a little bit, because I've been here, sitting in your chair for 12 years, coming to a lot of meetings, and so I've only been on the Parks Board 2.5 years. But I sat over there talking about building soccer field for 13 years.
Right.
I came to this meeting. We had a similar thing where we were the big bad people, because at the point, at that time, I was on the soccer board. And we wanted to take a 5-acre piece of flat area to make fields that had been squatted by, the school, disc golf. And so when we needed to build fields, it wasn't that we wanted to say, screw all of you. It was like, can we work together? And when you have a line in disc golf, and they're crisscrossing 6 acres of flat area that could be made into playing fields,
Highest and best use.
that is, okay, whatever the term is,
Yeah.
that, there was an opportunity for us to talk, can you move? Okay? And we worked it out. It wasn't easy, but we worked it out. And there were people on the Parks Board that had a vested personal interest in disc golf, and things did happen informally. And that's just how it happened. It's not that they're being punished. It's that there was some squatting. Now, Tom has thrown out a diagram, and we already made commitments in this board to baseball last year to expand batting cages. So I'm not saying that his plan can't happen, but it can't happen as exactly as he drew it out there, because, and whether you like tennis courts there or not, should one flight zone absorb 4.5 acres of space when we're so limited on flat-like space in this town for rec? That's all.
well, in my letter I wrote you all the other day, Sunday or Monday, it wasn't just, it was, I thought, it's, like Luke said, it's a beautiful spot, I think.
Right.
But, I understand, this is difficult, you know, but there's another instance where the baseball nets took over some space of theirs. And I can just see this happening unless we get a little more.
I feel like we need to make
I'm gonna change the wording
the,
from space of theirs to space that they're using, because those
Yeah.
aren't the two things.
I think that needs to be more
Excuse me, but they
official,
put
sorry.
holes for the batting net in their tee box, so they have to scoot over to the, I'm not a big disc golf person, I just was interested.
It's fun.
But, you know, instead of here, because there's a pole for the net, they have to come over here. Well, I can just see that happening
Right.
for a lot of places.
So you know what? That should have been a discussion with the user group, and not just assume that they can get in the way of a disc golf
Yeah,
line
that's a good
and
example.
say, screw you, you gotta go around me. That's a good example where it should have been more handled, and I agree, that's rude,
So
that's rude.
I wasn't just talking about my little, pretty little,
Okay,
but there's gonna
but maybe baseball shouldn't have done that, knowing that there was something, it's like they can't just go over and squat where the city has already said there's a little playground, right?
You know, it sounds to me like everybody's kind of done their own thing for so many years.
absolutely.
And
So-
and it's just
so-
bad habits repeating,
Parks owner, coal miners was gonna talk to this.
yeah.
We should have had more of a master plan for our parks. And coal miners is a perfect example of a park that,
Big enough that it could have a master plan.
Yes, easily.
right, on its
No
own,
doubt.
but
Desirable.
we're getting to the point where, like they say on The Voice, my team is full. If we have tennis there, if we accommodate falls in a unique way to get all the way around and get more nests and stuff in, we have the soccer field, there's some school discussion, we have a sledding hill, we have a new pump track. Park's full. Time out. So we need to do this planning and be considerate of all the user groups. And it might be that, sorry, you're not gonna get to 18-hole course there because it just can't happen. I don't know. Let's try to make it happen. It can.
Well,
And tennis isn't a done deal, but it has a lot of momentum and it needs a space.
And that one has more detailed, has a more specific requirements for things that work there. Disc golf thing is, hey, I need a bunch of space where nothing else is. And we'll go out and make it work, sort of a thing, as well as prove that. But like the tennis court can't go just anywhere. We looked at 15 or 20 different spots.
Right.
well, I think,
So I think there's more discussion, but coal miners needs to be a cooperative. And it's gonna get to the place where it is packed. And I'll tell you, I have seen that parking lot full many, many times.
I have seen it full many, many times too,
And
so.
if,
That's never happened.
you know,
okay.
we brought
But-
that up at the tennis court meetings, and
Yeah.
because I've never seen that parking lot full, and I brought it up twice,
Yeah.
and everybody said, oh, no.
Come in on a soccer
We do
tournament,
have
a
a
baseball
soccer
tournament, a
tournament,
football
baseball
game.
game going
and
on,
sanctuary,
yeah, you know,
sanctuary's open on the
so,
weekends. It does.
it's probably
One of
90,
the big hassles we have from the city that I go over to Mike is, I'm trying to get these major road projects, cause guess what, guys, we gotta figure out someplace else to stage it. Cause us taking over that parking lot doesn't work for all of the events that are down there.
you know, I'll tell you, you know, my point of view is, I kind of sympathize a little bit with what you're saying, Luke, is,
I got no dog in this fight, I was
No,
just trying to
yeah.
figure
No,
out
but I-
that here.
I kind
Right.
of hate to see that area get developed into a tennis court, to tell you the truth, you know, complex, but we have limited property in this town. And outside of going out and trying to obtain property, like
And we
the-
are obtaining
like
some
the
that can
church.
be green space, it'll be prettier, it'll have a creek next to it.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's,
the Rocky
I think
Fork.
it's kind
Oh,
of.
Rocky Fork, yes, but that's not gonna work for a tennis court.
No, but what I'm saying, it is
Yeah.
a replacement green space.
Yeah, it is, but, you know, I mean, that's a nice area, I can see, but, and it's gonna be a really expensive place to build a tennis court, because the grading's gonna be
Yeah, it is.
expensive, the drainage is gonna be expensive. But it's the only place that we have, it's city property, that we can do that project on. I guess the question is tennis court, or is a fourplex tennis court the highest, best use of that property at this point?
And
That's
ultimately.
literally the
that's-
only
That's really what it
city
comes down
space?
to. Huh?
That's the only city space, you're saying?
Uh,
I disagree
Dave
with that.
mentioned
I
up
do
by the
too.
airport.
Pardon?
You mentioned up by the airport.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
possibilities, there's several things that we, so when it came to the city,
What'd you say?
my goal is where can we come up, where can the city kick in with land
Absolutely.
Right.
that we don't have? And so there was a couple of different spots, the airport being one of them up there. And there were 2 or 3 spots we looked at that were private properties, but now you've got who's gonna donate an extra $500,000 to come in and buy
And
it?
because
and you know
we have
what?
the school's involvement in it now too.
But the
That-
other
and
thing
it's-
is,
it's handy
Field
for the
Park.
school.
Yeah.
Why isn't Field School, we don't talk about it because we veer away from it right away and say, oh, no,
Those
the
ideas are-
neighborhood won't like it.
Well,
But,
you hear about the conversation to put take away the green space and have additional courts there? Cause that was
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
conversation.
It was.
I don't understand why not. It's been tennis. It would change. The
I-
skate park went in,
parking.
Parking was the big one.
Parking's
Lions
gonna
Park,
be an
we're talking
issue.
about going away and being concrete slab.
Yeah,
So, we gotta be,
but do we want all of our green space to go away?
Yeah, well,
You
that's
know,
where
do we
we
want to
get
hard
back to
surface
the
all of our green space?
Need a
And I
park.
think parking's an issue there, you know, particularly if you're gonna have high school tournaments there.
Yeah.
You're gonna have buses, school buses parked along that area.
Okay, I'm such a Debbie Downer, I'm sorry, but the tennis season lasts 6 weeks, and it snows and rains in May, April and May. I just don't know if this is the biggest good use of our money and a beautiful space, when we could go to field school and add a fourth.
Well, I think we need to talk about this. Like, we need to have a proper discussion on an
so there's
agenda.
a committee that you can join, because they are meeting, and we shouldn't derail all the hard work they've done, because you guys are meeting a lot, and these other groups are, and it's not city money.
Well, and
It's
they,
not city money,
and they are,
it's
and they are at the
fundraising.
point where they're out going, and they're going out and
Yeah.
soliciting donations.
I
too.
think.
And they have to have a project defined to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
So
think
because
what
we're an
they're doing-
advisory board, are you saying they can just override us if they have funding?
No,
No.
Okay.
this has to be approved by the city, and I'm assuming it would be a public hearing.
Yeah,
And it will be, and
So then
this-
it doesn't really matter what we, like,
No,
it's not worth
definitely.
having a discussion
Well,
here,
no.
or,
I think.
I'm just
part
trying to
of the-
understand, I'm not,
No, it definitely
Challenging.
matters. If we advise that we have not been asked in a meeting to give our recommendation that the tennis courts go there.
Not yet.
We're not at that place yet.
okay.
And they have come to this meeting, if you wouldn't know, because you weren't there.
No, I've heard multiple proposals.
But-
They have come, but we
Part
have
of
not
it
been
is-
asked to recommend.
Part of it is, a lot of these questions and conversations, in fairness, are questions and conversations that have come up, and like when you guys talk about parking and converting the green space over and taking away this space, those are all questions that have come up there, and it doesn't mean that they don't also need to come up here.
I know, I'm just saying, if we, like, this doesn't feel like a good use of our time right now, especially since we're past.
yeah, I think the meeting is pretty.
Like, I think we need to, if we're gonna talk about it, we should actually.
In fact, the meeting's adjourned, but we
Put
can
it-
sit here and BS if we like.
Well, I have one more,
No,
I just
we
wanted
can't.
to go back to the disc golf one more time.
Okay,
Because I feel like we need to either decide that that's the appropriate place for it up there, and I don't know, when I'm saying decide, since we're just advisory, I don't really know what we can and can't do, but I just don't wanna see them keep getting squeezed out by the next thing because initially they didn't go through the proper channels. Let's then go through the proper
Let's
channel
officiate
Yes.
them. Yes.
so that they are a valid user group or stakeholder in that part.
And that's why I'm saying, Sarah, that they may only be a 12-hole
Yeah,
or a whatever, and if you want 18, when you come to Red Lodge, you gotta go up to the mountain.
right.
I don't
Yep,
know.
no, I totally agree. All of that is, yeah, I
But
just think we need to,
When we get to this place where we have to give our recommendation about what happens at coal miners, I think we need to all understand that we're at max up there.
yes.
There is no more place
No.
to go to do anything, especially if you say, now we're gonna put a sledding hill with water-making facility there.
well, you're stuffing the 12 pounds of flour in a 10-pound
It's
bag.
that
You
Russian
know.
mitten kid
And,
child's book that
and I don't think that's,
everything's in the mittens. So we'll have to talk about it. So that's my coal miner.
Okay.
So the crawl thing, to not, I don't know, we're just going on and on about it, but, I feel like that user group, they're not gonna self-advocate based on the individuals, just have people that play disc golf, I go up and play, but I would argue that there are disc golfers using coal miners more than any other user group year-round. Like, those guys there's always one or two dudes in this blizzard up there throwing discs.
yeah, that's true.
They're drinking beer, it's like, I've seen giant mobs of them, so I think that we should respect them as like a legit user group that's probably not gonna advocate for themselves, because it's just not the way they are.
They
I was
are-
shocked these guys came, I'm like, holy crap, disc golfers came to
They've come
the
here,
meeting?
they've come a couple of times.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So.
great.
Now they are coming,
But-
because
Tom
they're
Coley and-
revitalizing,
Yeah.
and they're,
Yeah, and that's
they
great.
may seem undervalued because they're not well organized, but they do have an
Exactly.
MOU with the city. So
Yeah.
one of the
Okay.
things they have in their card is they are on an MOU and have been, that the city has signed for over 10 years.
Okay. And,
So they are a user group listed on a memorandum of understanding, so
Good.
they have a contract.
And that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
saying, is I think that they are
And I think
valid.
they'll be super flexible, and they can be, quite honestly. The tennis courts aren't as flexible. It's like a set object.
Right.
And, as a disc golfer, it's going to your local park and then they have changed a couple holes. That's actually usually pretty exciting. So I don't think they're gonna be mad because we changed hole 9. They might be like, oh, cool, it's a little different
They have
now.
come in a couple times and said, you can't do tennis because we have a court there. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna fly.
No, yeah, I think that they, as long as they're in the know and we're like, hey, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You have this zone to build your thing, you worry, how'd you like it? They'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be a few grumpy old men about it, but
I
for the
know
most
what the
part.
mayor's saying about squatting, because I think it, to some extent, did happen during times. I agree with Sarah. Let's stop the bad blood and make it right and officiate it. And this is a perfect time to consider it right now.
Well, here's another thing, when you talk about the, pickleball people are out soliciting for donations right now. And if you look at Facebook on Red Lodge Buzz, they have a diagram of the
Somebody needs to
pickleball
tell
courts.
them in their meetings that nothing's been approved.
I think they're aware of that.
Well, they're aware of it, but it hasn't been officially,
Right, so this is into their two-phase project, because phase one is restoring the field school park. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit straightforward, because there's the case where we're not changing use of public-owned lands. It's kind of like if the pump track comes in and says we're putting a new track on top at the same spot.
Yeah, They're,
Like, we're not,
they're making it so you could play pickleball and tennis.
That's what they're fundraising for?
yeah.
But they have on Facebook the diagram of what they say the future courts are gonna look like.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
The future
But
courts
they-
at coal
but-
miners or the
No,
future
No,
at
no,
field?
at field, but the diagram they have shows pickleball courts and tennis
And
courts.
tennis courts.
So we're in the development
it
phase.
makes me go on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're in a development phase, and I think whoever does attend these meetings needs to say, you gotta slow down a little.
Well, I think you're probably right.
The tennis courts especially. There will be a lot of discussion there.
Yeah.
Rod, you were in the construction business, I don't need this figure tonight, or we don't need this figure tonight, but I'm curious how much it would cost to fill that.
A
that-
lot.
Okay, but maybe with next meeting, have just an estimate to,
Yeah,
Well,
and actually Mike already
Mike
has that.
Mike,
Yeah, that has been looked at, and they've
Yeah.
done it, and we can come up with it.
Yeah,
Okay,
Mike
then I would
Naples
love
has
to see
already
that.
done
Tennis
that.
thinks they're gonna spend $900,000 there
oh, yeah.
in fundraising with USTA.
USTA is gonna pay for $30,000 of each court, that's
Right.
$120,000, that's a lot less than 900.
Yeah, it's a start.
They have a lot of
Long way to
donations
go.
before they can continue on with anything else.
Well,
Yeah.
That's why there's two phases.
Hey,
All right, meeting
the
is-
meeting's
I
adjourned.
think meeting was adjourned at 7:30.
It was.
Okay.
This was lovely. Do we?
But you know, this is kind of discussion we need to have sometime.